Delivery woman solves technological problem and leaves millionaire shocked. What if I told you that a 26-year-old delivery woman with a cracked phone and worn-out sneakers walked into one of the most powerful tech companies in the United States and solved a problem that 27 of the top engineers couldn't figure out? This is the incredible true story of Jessica Parker, a college dropout who was forced to abandon her computer science dreams when her family faced a devastating crisis. While her former Berkeley classmates were landing prestigious jobs at major tech companies, Jessica was pedaling through busy streets on her old bicycle, delivering meals just to keep her family afloat. She had given up on her ambitions, accepting that survival was more important than success. But fate had different plans. Chaos erupted in the glass towers of Henderson Tech Industries, the most powerful software company on the West Coast. Red warning lights flashed across dozens of monitors while employees ran frantically through the corridors. The company's main servers had crashed during the biggest product launch of the year, and millions of dollars were vanishing by the minute. At the center of this technological storm stood Marcus Henderson, the 35-year-old CEO whose company controlled half of America's cloud computing infrastructure. Marcus stood motionless in his expensive Italian suit, watching his empire crumble in real time. His steel-gray eyes showed no panic, only the cold calculation of a man who had built his fortune from nothing. 27 of the country's top engineers surrounded him, their keyboards clicking desperately as they tried every possible solution. The pressure was suffocating as investors called non-stop, demanding answers that nobody could provide. 15 minutes until total system failure, announced Marcus, checking his platinum Rolex. His voice cut through the chaos like ice. The lead engineer, a nervous man named Timothy, wiped sweat from his forehead as he typed frantically. "Sir, we've tried everything," Timothy said, his voice cracking under pressure. "The main firewall won't accept any external commands and the backup systems are completely locked out." Marcus crossed his arms and waited in deadly silence. He had built Henderson Tech from a garage startup to a billion-dollar empire, and he wasn't about to watch it die without a fight. The emergency protocols had failed. The best cybersecurity experts in the country were stumped, and time was running out fast. Outside the building, news vans were already gathering as word of the crisis spread across social media. Suddenly, the security doors burst open with a loud bang that made everyone jump. "Delivery for Marcus Henderson!" shouted a woman's voice as sneakers squeaked across the polished marble floor. "1 chicken Caesar salad, extra dressing, and a large black coffee." The voice belonged to Jessica Parker, a 26-year-old delivery driver whose faded red uniform was soaked with sweat from climbing 23 flights of stairs after the elevators malfunctioned. Jessica stood in the doorway, completely oblivious to the technological apocalypse unfolding around her. Her brown hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and her beat-up sneakers looked out of place among the sea of expensive dress shoes. She held up her phone, squinting at the screen as she tried to match the order number. "Order number 4783, she announced cheerfully, placed at 2:47 p.m. by Marcus Henderson. Every person in the room turned to stare at her like she had just landed from Mars. The contrast was jarring. This ordinary delivery woman standing among America's tech elite while million-dollar servers crashed in the background. Marcus slowly turned around, his intimidating presence making Jessica take a small step backward. "Do you know who I am?" Marcus asked, his voice low and dangerous. "Sure, your name's right here on the app," Jessica replied, holding up her cracked phone screen. "Marcus Henderson, Henderson Tech Industries, 23rd floor." She paused, looking around at all the stressed faces and flashing red screens. "You guys having some kind of computer problem?" she asked innocently. Several engineers scoffed and rolled their eyes, as if a delivery driver could possibly understand their sophisticated technical crisis. "The entire network infrastructure is collapsing," snapped Timothy, not bothering to hide his condescension. "The security protocols have created an infinite loop that's eating our processing power." Jessica nodded thoughtfully as she looked at the massive screen displaying lines of complex code. "Yeah, that'll happen when you run recursive authentication while the cache is still active," she said casually, pointing at a specific section of the display. The room fell dead silent. Marcus took a step forward, his eyes narrowing with sudden interest. "What did you just say?" he asked slowly. Jessica shrugged, still holding the food bag. I studied computer science at Berkeley for 3 years before I had to drop out," she explained. That code loop you've got there is basically choking itself to death. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, a mixture of desperation and curiosity he hadn't experienced in years. This random delivery woman had just diagnosed their crisis in seconds while his expensive team remained clueless. "Berkeley," he repeated, studying Jessica's face more carefully. "What happened? Why did you leave?" Jessica shifted uncomfortably, clearly not wanting to discuss her personal life in front of strangers. "Family stuff," she said quietly. "My dad got sick, medical bills piled up, couldn't afford tuition anymore." The room remained silent as everyone processed this information. Marcus recognized something familiar in her eyes, the same hunger and determination he'd had when he started his company in his college dorm room. "Can you fix this?" he asked bluntly, gesturing toward the failing systems. Jessica looked around at the hostile faces surrounding her. These people clearly thought she was nothing more than a dropout delivery driver who had no business being in their world. "I could try," she said hesitantly, "but I haven't touched serious coding in 2 years. Timothy let out a sarcastic laugh. "Great, now we're taking technical advice from the pizza girl," he sneered. Marcus silenced Timothy with a deadly look before turning back to Jessica. The company was hemorrhaging money every second, and traditional solutions had failed completely. "Everyone step back," he commanded. "Let her work." Jessica approached the main terminal nervously, her hands hovering over the keyboard. She could feel 27 pairs of skeptical eyes boring into her back. Her fingers began moving across the keys with surprising confidence, muscle memory taking over as she navigated through the complex system architecture. She opened hidden diagnostic panels, traced the recursive loops, and began systematically dismantling the digital gridlock. The clicking of her keystrokes was the only sound in the massive room as America's tech elite watched in stunned silence. Block 4. 3 minutes later, the red warning lights suddenly stopped flashing. The error messages disappeared one by one, replaced by green status indicators across every monitor. "System restored," appeared on the main screen in large, friendly letters. The servers hummed back to life, and data began flowing normally through the network again. The room erupted in shocked murmurs as people stared at their screens in disbelief. Jessica stepped back from the terminal, wiping her hands on her uniform. "That should do it," she said simply, as if she had just fixed a broken doorknob instead of saving $1 billion company. Marcus stared at the restored systems, then at Jessica, his mind racing to process what had just happened. "How long have you been delivering food?" he asked. "About 18 months, Jessica replied, picking up the forgotten food bag. "Ever since Dad's cancer treatment started eating up all our savings." She glanced at her phone to check the time. "Look, I've got 6 more deliveries to make before my shift ends, so if you could just sign for this." Marcus held up his hand to stop her. "Wait," he said firmly. "I want to offer you a job." Jessica blinked in surprise, thinking she had misheard. "A job? Here?" Marcus nodded slowly, his analytical mind already calculating her potential value to the company. "Head of cybersecurity. Starting salary $300,000 per year, full benefits, stock options." The room buzzed with shocked whispers as the other employees realized what was happening. Timothy's face turned red with indignation. "Sir, you can't be serious," he protested. "She doesn't even have a degree." Marcus turned to face his lead engineer with ice-cold eyes. "She just accomplished in 3 minutes what your entire team couldn't do in 3 hours, he said quietly. "Results matter more than diplomas." Jessica stared at Marcus like he had just spoken in a foreign language. $300,000 was more money than her family had ever dreamed of having. I can't," she stammered. "I mean, thank you, but I have responsibilities. My dad's treatments, my little sister's school." Marcus studied her face, recognizing the weight of family obligation in her hesitant expression. "What if I told you the job comes with premium health insurance that would cover your father's treatment completely?" Marcus asked. "And education benefits that could pay for your sister's college?" Jessica's eyes widened, and for a moment she looked like she might cry. "You would really do that?" she whispered. "For someone you just met?" Marcus smiled for the first time that day, a genuine expression that transformed his stern features. "I built this company by recognizing talent wherever I found it," he said. "Intelligence and problem-solving ability can't be taught in any classroom." He extended his hand toward her. "So what do you say, Jessica Parker? Ready to change your life?" Jessica looked down at her worn-out sneakers. then at the expensive suits surrounding her, then back at Marcus's outstretched hand. She thought about her father lying in a hospital bed, about her sister Emma working 2 part-time jobs to help with expenses, about all the dreams she'd been forced to abandon. "I need to think about it," she said finally. "Take all the time you need," Marcus replied, pulling out his business card. "But don't take too long. The tech world moves fast and opportunities like this don't wait forever." Jessica took the card with trembling fingers, still trying to process everything that had happened. "I should probably get back to work," she said, gesturing toward the door with the food bag. As Jessica walked toward the exit, every person in the room watched her leave with a mixture of respect and bewilderment. This ordinary delivery woman had just saved their company and been offered a fortune, yet she was walking away to finish her minimum wage shift. Marcus admired her dedication, even as he hoped she would accept his offer. "Timothy," he called out, "I want a full analysis of exactly what she did to fix our system." Timothy grudgingly began examining Jessica's code modifications, his professional pride battling with genuine curiosity about her methods. Meanwhile, Marcus retreated to his private office to think. He had built his reputation on making smart business decisions, and his instincts told him that Jessica Parker could be the most valuable hire he'd ever made. But first, he needed to understand more about her background and why she had really left Berkeley. An hour later, Marcus's assistant knocked on his door. "Sir, I have that background information you requested on Jessica Parker," she announced. Her father, Robert Parker, was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer 14 months ago. He's a construction worker with basic insurance that doesn't cover experimental treatments. The assistant continued reading from her tablet. Jessica's mother died when she was 16, so she's been the primary caregiver for her younger sister Emma. Marcus absorbed this information, feeling an unexpected connection to Jessica's story. He had also lost a parent young and understood the crushing weight of family responsibility. "What about her academic record at Berkeley?" he asked. "Dean's List for 5 consecutive semesters," the assistant replied. "She was working on advanced artificial intelligence research before she withdrew. Her professors describe her as exceptionally gifted, and now she's delivering food to pay for her father's medical bills," Marcus said quietly, staring out his office window at the city below. He thought about all the privileged kids he'd hired straight from Ivy League schools, most of whom had never faced real hardship. Jessica Parker had more practical wisdom and raw determination than any of them. His phone buzzed with a text message, interrupting his thoughts. The text was from an unknown number, but Marcus immediately recognized Jessica's straightforward writing style. "Thank you for the opportunity. I need one day to discuss with my family. We'll call tomorrow with my decision." Marcus smiled as he read the message, impressed by her professionalism even in such an overwhelming situation. Most people would have either accepted immediately or asked dozens of questions, but Jessica was carefully considering all the implications. Meanwhile, across town in a modest apartment, Jessica sat at her family's kitchen table trying to explain the day's events to her father and sister. Robert Parker looked pale and thin from his ongoing chemotherapy, but his eyes still held the sharp intelligence that Jessica had inherited. $300,000? He repeated slowly. "Sweetheart, that's more than I made in my best 5 years combined." "I know, Dad," Jessica said, running her hands through her hair. "But what if I can't do the job? What if I'm in over my head?" Emma, her 19-year-old sister, grabbed Jessica's shoulders and looked her straight in the eyes. "Jess, you just saved a billion-dollar company with a computer science degree you never finished," Emma said firmly. "If that's not qualification enough, then nothing ever will be." Robert reached across the table and took his daughter's hand in his weathered construction worker's grip. "Your mother always said you were destined for something special," he said softly. "I think she'd want you to take this chance." Jessica felt tears welling up in her eyes as she thought about her mother, who had died in a car accident when Jessica was still a teenager trying to figure out her future. "But what about taking care of you?" Jessica asked. "What about Emma's college plans?" Robert smiled weakly but with genuine warmth. "Honey, if you take this job, Emma can focus on her studies instead of working 2 jobs, and I can get the treatment I need without bankrupting our family." He squeezed her hand tighter. "This is our chance to build something better." The next morning, Jessica called Marcus from the hospital waiting room while her father received his weekly chemotherapy treatment. "Mr. Henderson?" she said nervously when he answered. "This is Jessica Parker. I've made my decision." Marcus immediately stopped what he was doing and gave her his full attention. "I'm listening." he said simply. I accept your offer, Jessica said, her voice growing stronger with each word. But I have some conditions. Marcus raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her confidence. Most people would have just said yes and figured out the details later. Name them, he replied. First, I need flexible hours so I can still take my dad to his medical appointments, Jessica continued. Second, I want to finish my Berkeley degree part-time while I work for you. And third, Marcus asked, already impressed by her thoughtful approach. I want to bring new people into the company, Jessica said. People like me who have the skills but not the traditional background. People who've been overlooked because they don't fit the usual profile. Marcus paused for a moment, considering her requests. All three conditions are acceptable, he said finally. When can you start? How about Monday? Jessica replied. I need to give my delivery company proper notice, and I want to buy some professional clothes that actually fit. Marcus laughed, remembering her oversized uniform from the day before. Monday it is, he agreed. And Jessica, don't worry about the clothes. My assistant will arrange for a complete professional wardrobe to be delivered to your apartment. Jessica felt overwhelmed by his generosity, but also determined to prove she deserved this opportunity. Mr. Henderson, she said quietly, thank you for seeing something in me that other people missed. Marcus looked out his office window, thinking about his own journey from a poor kid with big dreams to a technology mogul. Sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places, he replied. I have a feeling you're going to surprise everyone, including yourself. Block 9. Monday morning arrived with Jessica standing nervously outside Henderson Tech Industries, wearing a sharp business suit that actually fit properly for the first time in years. She carried a new laptop bag and wore professional shoes that didn't have holes in the soles. Emma had insisted on taking pictures to commemorate the moment, calling it the day our lives changed forever. Marcus personally escorted Jessica through the building, introducing her to department heads and explaining her new role. The reaction from other employees ranged from polite skepticism to outright hostility, especially from Timothy and his team, who still resented being shown up by a delivery driver. She'll be working directly with me on our most sensitive security projects, Marcus announced during the morning meeting. Jessica's first week was a whirlwind of technical briefings, security clearances, and getting up to speed on Henderson Tech's complex systems. She discovered that the company's problems ran much deeper than the crisis she had solved. With outdated security protocols and inefficient code scattered throughout their infrastructure, this is going to take months to fix properly, she told Marcus during their first private meeting. Then we'd better get started, Marcus replied, impressed by her thoroughness in identifying systemic issues. Over the following days, Jessica worked 18-hour shifts, completely rebuilding the company's cybersecurity architecture from the ground up. Her unconventional background actually became an advantage, as she approached problems from angles that traditionally trained engineers never considered. Within 2 weeks, Henderson Tech's systems were running more efficiently than they had in years. Industry publications began writing articles about the company's mysterious new security improvements, and competitor companies tried unsuccessfully to poach Jessica with increasingly ridiculous salary offers. But Jessica remained loyal to Marcus, the man who had given her a chance when nobody else would. 3 months later, Jessica had become something of a legend in Silicon Valley. Technology conferences invited her to speak about innovative problem solving, and major universities offered her honorary degrees to compensate for the one she'd never finished. Her father's cancer was responding well to the experimental treatments that Henderson Tech's insurance covered, and Emma had enrolled in Stanford's engineering program. Marcus watched Jessica's transformation with a mixture of pride and something deeper that he was only beginning to understand. She had evolved from a nervous delivery driver into a confident executive who commanded respect throughout the industry. But she had never lost the down-to-earth authenticity that had attracted him to her in the first place. Their working relationship had gradually become something more personal, though neither had explicitly acknowledged it. I have something to tell you, Marcus said one evening as they worked late in his office, the city lights twinkling below them. Jessica looked up from her computer, noting the serious expression on his face. The board of directors wants to promote you to chief technology officer, he continued. You'd be the youngest CTO in company history, and probably the youngest female CTO in Silicon Valley. Jessica stared at him in shock, unable to process what she was hearing. 6 months ago, she had been delivering food to pay her family's medical bills, and now she was being offered one of the most powerful positions in the tech industry. Marcus, I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say yes, he replied, standing up and walking around his desk to face her. You've earned this position 10 times over. There's something else, Marcus continued, his voice becoming softer and more personal. I know this might complicate things between us professionally, but I need you to know that you've become the most important person in my life. Jessica felt her heart racing as she looked into his eyes, seeing vulnerability there that he rarely showed anyone. I feel the same way, she admitted quietly, but I want to succeed because of my abilities, not because of our relationship. Marcus smiled and took her hands in his. That's exactly why I know you're the right person for this job, he said. And that's exactly why I'm falling in love with you. Jessica's journey from delivery driver to tech executive had taught her that opportunities could come from the most unexpected places, but the most important discovery was finding someone who valued her intelligence and determination above everything else. 2 years later, Jessica Parker Henderson stood on the stage at the International Technology Conference, her new wedding ring catching the stage lights as she delivered the keynote address about innovation and second chances. In the audience, her father sat in the front row, healthy and cancer-free, while Emma watched her sister with proud tears in her eyes. Marcus beamed from the side of the stage, still amazed by the brilliant woman who had literally walked into his life carrying a chicken Caesar salad. Sometimes the most extraordinary solutions come from the most ordinary moments, Jessica told the packed auditorium. A delivery gone wrong, a chance encounter, a willingness to help even when nobody expects anything from you. The next time someone unexpected offers a different perspective, listen to them. You might just discover that genius doesn't always come with a diploma, and success doesn't always follow a traditional path. The audience erupted in applause as Jessica concluded her speech, but she was already thinking about her next challenge. Henderson Tech was expanding internationally, and there were countless other talented people out there who just needed someone to give them a chance. She had learned that changing your life sometimes requires taking enormous risks, but the greatest risk of all is never trying to change anything at all. If this story inspired you, we'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that their big break could be just around the corner. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories of ordinary people achieving extraordinary things. Remember, your next opportunity might be waiting in the most unexpected place.